episode of the live stream itself. Today we've got TokenBrice with us from Polaris. So, Bryce, basically, tell us more about your background. Who are you? I'm very passionate to ask you like a couple of questions that I'm sure we'll venture into. But tell me more about like your background. How do you find yourself in this industry?
Yeah, sure. I like those questions, to get to know where someone is talking from. So thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm Bryce, and essentially, my background, I guess. If you really want to know, I have a modern French literature bachelor. I lost myself in a business school. I worked for some B2B SaaS startup for like a year and a half before I realized I will kill myself before 30 years old if I keep doing that. And I started to explore, alternative. And the problem was not just, okay, I need to put some food on the table. The problem was already a question of meaning. What I was doing was senseless. I was helping some technical companies to get more clicks online, writing content for them, or things like that. And it's pretty much around the same time as my last job. I had a colleague that was on Binance already then, 2017 around, I think, trading some shitcoin and telling me about it. And so one day, finally it got me. I was like, okay, bro, I'm gonna drop you $500. No, you buy some shitcoin for me, and I will figure out a wallet when I'm back home, and you send it to me. So I did just that. My very first shitcoin was the game token. Obviously useless, probably dead by now. By the time I had properly bought a wallet, a hardware wallet, set things up and whatsoever, which was about 2 weeks later when he sent me the token, they were already worth less than half of the value I paid for them. Uh, but somehow, I guess a normal person would have, probably stopped there, but somehow it got me researching more into crypto, into Ethereum, because I was at ERC20, and yeah, from here to there, I got involved more seriously in the space around that time, late 2017, early 2018. From the get-go, pretty much learning in public. You can find very old pieces of archaeology on my blog. Please be indulgent. Um, and I don't know if you want the crypto highlight. One of my first thing was I was learning about DeFi myself, right? DeFi was just beginning, a barely Uniswap maker when I started. And I realized there was very little content, and not in English, especially in French. I'm French, so I started the DeFi Friends community to essentially fill that void of content. We were organizing meetups, still organizing today, producing content, and overall creating a space for people to learn about DeFi in French. That was really like we were very Nazi about the French. Even on the slide, everything had to be fully in French. And yeah, from here I got more involved professionally in the space. Worked with Paraswap for a while, with Liquidity. I assisted in the Go repeg situation, and Polaris is what I call my main arc. Because yeah, it's the first time I'm really moving on the builder side, I guess. There's been a bit of an in-between attempt between that. Not an attempt, it's a success. It's just a different nature of a project, which is the DeFi Collective and DeFi Scan. But those are essentially services. They don't have a token. They are non-profit association looking to accomplish a goal in the space.
And you really mentioned like your main arc is going to be Polaris. So like if somebody's like watching this and they see Polaris, I think we now have what I call like stablecoin fatigue. Like we look at something and we're like, oh my dear God, another stablecoin, right? So how would you say that Polaris, where, who is it for? Like where is the differentiator coming in your thought
I
process?
I mean, for us, it's such an easy question because literally there are about two stable coins on mainnet that are matching the demand for resilience and trustlessness that we have with Polaris as a project, and those are LUSD and Bold. And while they do succeed on being decentralized and trustless, they have limitations when it comes to their scale. So yes, there are plenty of stable coins, but literally there are only two stable coins, potentially like PUSD and all the other PSAs will be. And PUSD and Polaris as a CDP infrastructure and a whole model to output stablecoin has been designed to be able to reach massive scale. So I know it can sound pretentious or crazy when I say that, but really I think it's important for people to understand that we designed Polaris PUSD to be able to reach a circle level size. So the target we gave ourselves is we want an infrastructure that can stomach 50 billion supply on the stablecoin, which is, for reference, about still 5 to 10 times what Maker has outgoing with massive trustlessness compromises. And that would be considered the biggest, I guess, decentralized stablecoin, although I don't call it decentralized because it's not decentralized. It's more a decentralized infrastructure used to output a stablecoin with several compromises on the way that result in a trusted stablecoin that can be censored.
You know what you remind me of? I don't know if you've seen the movie The Watchmen. It has this one character, it's like Rorschach, and he keeps saying, never compromise, never compromise. That's like his entire spiel is like never compromise. It's his entire trope, right? And in your launch article, so you see, like I would consider myself a smart dumb person. As in, like I'm smart enough to be in crypto or in AI, but I'm dumb enough to like never understand and like stand from like the outside of the glass shelf within which like all the technical really smart people stand, and I can just look in and see okay what they're doing, not necessarily understand like why they're doing it. So when you wrote that article, it was never anything that was technical that drew me in. It was always your idea of, look, once a pigeon, always a pigeon. And for those of you who have not read the article, which I think everybody here who's listening to this definitely should, it's basically a callback to the idea of if you start off with compromises and think that one day you're going to remove the training wheels, the problem is you just always end up compromising. You just never start. You either are all in when it comes to trustlessness, or you just never reach there. And it's very clear because once you're getting adoption, it's so hard to win, it's so hard to get adoption in the first
And
place.
even just for the pragmatic out there, like
Yeah.
quote me one single project in like what 10 years of on-chain history now that started with massive compromise and eventually removed the compromise and reached a state that you could consider trustless. There is not a single example of this. So I really like I'm enjoying that you're saying that because a lot of people are still believing that story. And at this point, if you have anyone telling you, yeah, we're gonna progressively decentralize, you need to put them in your deep, hard scammer list because you cannot say that in 2026 and be serious. You can give the benefit of the doubt to people who said that in 2018 and thought they will be able to pull it off. But at this point, like the factual data shows you that 10,000 projects said they were going to decentralize, zero effectively decentralized.
Yeah, that is actually very true. I think that most people assume that there's like this trade-off that needs to be done for something. I think Peter has this really interesting talk. He was like, I believe he used to be like an Ethereum core dev, and he actually like, if I'm not mistaken, it was basically like this history of Stripe, where they were like, in the very beginning, Stripe was like actually really good. They were quote unquote decentralized to a certain extent, but then I think they over-indexed on UX so much. They over-indexed so much on UX that now they ended up like pretty streamlined and like pretty centralized. And I think that's the same argument that's now going about in terms of chains. We say, okay, more UX, and see, it's probably pretty hypocritical coming from me. Like I probably scream at people for not having good UX. Like on most of my streams, I'm like, this is such shitty UX. But the problem is that the only reason I say that is because not only do they have shitty UX, right? It's also like even in areas where they did not need to centralize or do anything, they still have shitty UX. So I'm like, okay, these guys are probably not going to think. You will never catch me saying that about Tornado Cash for all that I care, right? Or anything like that. Like I'd be
But
like,
it's such a great point, yeah.
difficult.
If
Like
there is a truly need for the service, the UX doesn't fucking matter. As simple as that. If people want to use your product, they will use your product. Like there's tons of history like that. Uh, the one that comes are not the most recommendable, but I think Tornado Cash is a good example. It's not a super friendly UX, right? Yet they've seen massive usage because people needed privacy, and Tornado Cash was the best solution offering to them. That's really something. Yeah, a lot of ideals are sacrificed on the ideal of UX, I think.
even Zashi, for example, for like Zcash wallet, right? Like, okay, now they have like really improved the UX, but even after that, I tried using it, and you really had to like, first send something from one wallet, from like your EVM wallet to a near intense wallet, then like, rotate an address and stuff like that. it took me like 10-15 seconds, but there are still people who genuinely use Zcash because they really needed that shielded transactions. I really believe the same case to be there for like a lot of Monero maxis out there, right? And for all that I care, look at Bitcoin. Bro, those transactions are not fast at all. We will still use them. And I think like speed will become like so much of a commodity, like it will no longer be a selling point at all. Like if a chain really is bringing out, or if like a project really is bringing out something very novel, I don't think people are like anymore. Zero, like Layer Zero recently launched their own chain, right? It probably happened like today itself, like a couple of hours slash minutes ago. Nobody's I've yet to see like anybody ask, okay, how fast is it, right? Because they're like, doesn't really matter. People don't even like, I have no more problems conducting any transaction on my Ethereum L1. I have no problems whatsoever. That 2021 gas spike of like waiting for like the perfect time of the
Yeah.
day to make the transaction, because like even everybody's asleep in the US, then
Those one
okay.
ETH of guys NFT means that are
Yes,
forever
yes.
recorded on chain.
Yeah, so it's no longer happening. And what is happening is, can you talk to me a little bit more about like what is the trade-off that is being made if you know you're using, or if you simply become like centralized, or you simply become like, for the lack of a better phrase, like you shake the hands of the devil and you become like really really supported by megacorps of the world, because there are a lot of like really popular stablecoin products out there that have done the
Of course.
exact same thing. What is the implicit trade-off that a lot of
Benefits,
these users are making?
like your handshake with the devil, what does it bring you? Is that your question? Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, the first thing is when you try to understand human behavior, there is this quote, like, right, never attribute to malevolence what can be attributed to laziness. And I think here it's informative because, simply put, it's the easiest path. You want to output a dollar stable. Well, the easiest path is you just wrap USDC, you find some new creative source of yield, you swallow a part of it, you forward the rest to the user, and boom, you have a growing product. We've seen this playbook dozens of times over the last year, and keeps happening over and over again. You can add a little bit of spice, or we're doing specially this, or we have special deals, and so on. Um, but yeah, it's simple. It is easy, and I think that's half of your explanation is here already. I don't think it's a special big plan to capture DeFi by some cabal looking to pervert all the ideas out of DeFi. Um, so that's the first face of the coin. And the second face of the coin is, if you want to do things well, it is extremely hard, not a bit harder, extremely hard. So if we go back to the stablecoins example, there is simply no other team than Liquidity who was able to output an immutable stablecoin to mainnet. Able, not tried or what, able. I haven't seen any other. So the bar is extremely high in that regard, because simply you have to, it's a question when people say, "Oh, you're immutable. How are you going to adapt to markets that are changing all the time?" And, "Oh, it's good to be immutable, but you don't have agility." I understand where the question comes from, but essentially what those people fail to see is that the way you build an immutable protocol is completely different. It comes with an absurd amount of modeling beforehand. So Polaris has been in building in the shadows for 2 years before we revealed the protocol publicly 2 weeks ago. The model we have are extremely thorough, and essentially they're like a little virtual world where Polaris exists, and we have tons of agents, each with their own strategies. Some are is longer, some are short, some are just opportunists looking to make money on the stable, all kinds of strategy, and they all live together. They interact with the system, and we can see the exact impact of every single parameter change. It's this level of precision that you need. And of course, that comes with the usual spiel of audits and code contest and all of that, that will come when we're ready. But yeah, long and short story is, wrapping USDC is easy. Doing something genuinely decentralized and trustless is so hard that essentially just one team attempted it so far in 6 years of Ethereum history.
And when you lay it out like that, I have to ask, how did you decide that, okay, you know what, I'm going to bat against all of these? Like what drove you to say, you know what, I'm going to build this stable coin? I don't care what anyone says, because you said that it's been under like the development for like 2 years or something, right? So
Yes.
you and your co-founder, like all of you probably saw this and you were like, oh my God, we have this huge challenge in front of us. Nobody's solving it. I think I think might as well just be us and like, fuck it, we ball. So
Yes.
how do you reach that stage? How do you get like frustrated enough to say, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna start this stablecoin company?
I mean, yeah, this was essentially, I was saying it's my main arc, Polaris, because for those who read me for the years I've been writing or even doing live and whatsoever, it's kind of the main thing that has always been concerning me since the beginning of DeFi is, essentially like, okay, what are the primitives of DeFi? There are dexes, you can exchange token, and they are essentially lending slash stablecoin, because in the CDP model, those two goes together. Um, and so far, we had the primitive, immutable, trustless DEX since Uniswap v1 was already immutable, trustless. You cannot shut down Uniswap. There is nothing anyone can do to prevent someone from swapping on Uniswap. There is some people getting confused about the UI. The UI is another story. The Uniswap protocol is simply unstoppable. And that really excited me when the day I understood that. I understood that, okay, I can create a token, I'll make a pool on Uniswap, and literally, even if all the governments of the world are saying I'm a terrorist and they want my token to disappear, or I don't know what, they cannot prevent trading on that pool. It's like a superpower. It's immense. And we don't have this for lending in stablecoin. We simply don't have this. If US government want to shut down Avi, I'm sorry, boys, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen real freaking quick. There is so many moving parts in Avi that this is totally in the domain of possible. Same thing for Maker, same thing for Compound. Any lending protocol that is big and you can think of is essentially being able to, if not shut down, tampered with in such a way that it would be rendered unusable by an adversarial actor. Of course, I'm not saying the team is going to rug on you. There is other sets of interest keeping them in check, but I'm just saying at the technical level, it's possible. Versus, again, a Uniswap, you can kidnap Hayden and his whole family. Please don't do that. But he will never be able to do anything to Uniswap. He simply does not have the key. There is no key on Uniswap. Never had a key. It doesn't exist. It's just a piece of code that will run as long as the network synchronizes. And for me, this is, everything else is toys, is uninteresting. It's not, it won't be relevant 2, 3, 4, 5 decades from now. Uniswap will be relevant and probably will still be traded on in some maybe marginal ways, but even the V2. So that's what fascinates me, what led me here. I want to essentially, I gain a lot from this space, and if I get involved on the building side, I want to give back something significant, something that matters. So the stablecoin problem is still here. Nobody is tackling it. Clearly, the money is going, elsewhere. I was seeing like some random centralized stablecoin infrastructure recently raised $20 million to output yet another USDC wrapper. Uh, so the money, even the VCs, are going somewhere else. It's not an easy road to choose, but I think it's this is also where you find the most meaning. And to be honest, also, I've seen this happen in the past. The most rewards as well. The two are correlated.
I would say that this is definitely the arc of, I'm not fucking leaving, because the time at which Polaris is building, I think it's going to be, we will look back in history and we will see that, Polaris launched and grew at a time of like probably one of the most doubtful periods in crypto, because I think the WAGMI era is completely gone. Nobody is. I did not see WAGMI the entire cycle, my friend. Did
Mm-hmm.
not even once, not by brands, not by old guys. Nobody said that. So the dream died kind of in that 2021. And by 2024, it was like, oh my God, this is going to become some corporate mega bullshit where everybody needs like Slack and it has to have their full name on it, and like the pronouns need to be there, and also the pronunciation of your name needs to be there. There was no more like anon profiles did actually hold people back. The entire spiel happened, right? I'm not saying whether or not that is true, but it's just it got taken as such a de facto truth that I felt a very strong departure from what I came in and saw at 2020 and 2021. I was like, there are no more dreamers left. It has now become the playbookization of almost everything, has ruined the imaginative quality of a lot of people. I now see marketing campaigns being developed by fucking Claude Code. And I'm like, why the fuck do you not just sit aside with a pen and paper? I don't know. Look at ads, man. Look at ads from of like Porsche, Rolls Royce. Look at ads from Marlboro for all that I care. See there. Look at them. There is no more this. There's no more this left in the industry anymore. So what they're doing now is that they're just doing things that they know are going to work. And I partly blame this on the founders, and I partly blame this on the teammates. The teammates want so much success, and they're driven so much by their KPIs that they don't feel like the need to challenge the founder. And the founders just want things that work. Bro, I've not seen like founders taking a bet at all. It has almost become day-to-day thing. I think like okay, there are a couple like Coinbase. Okay, they're doing like something experimental, but they're Coinbase. Like they can
They
afford
can afford it.
they
Yes.
can afford it. They can afford it. So I don't want a world where like this kind of opportunity. It's only like when you remember when the Uniswap airdrop hit, right? You probably there at that time, so you could see that, oh my god, this happened. Oh, when the Arbitrum airdrop hit, like that's when I was there as well, right? So you could see that
Yeah.
okay, they did something new. They were like, okay, you know what, let's just give it to all of the DAOs and the protocols that we're building on top, and then see what happens there. So they had like such a huge money effect, right? The complete wealth effect. And I think now that's like completely missing. So we will look back in history and we will see that Polaris was growing at a time when layoffs were happening. People were leaving crypto. Some very big OGs were leaving crypto. AI was taking over the world. It was really unsure whether crypto would exist as something beyond the mere pawn of AI. Right? Right now, like everybody, you ask them, like, okay, why do you think crypto will win? They just look at it as like an extension of payments arms. Bro. Like if X402 did not exist, it's almost like some of the biggest names in the industry, they would not believe in crypto otherwise. And their answer always surprised.
Mm.
I'm like, X402 came around just yet. So you didn't you were not a believer before that, or like what happened? Like okay, it is a use case, but has that always been the use case? Nobody talks about ease of payments anymore. Nobody talks about how it can help you bank those people who have not been banked.
Bank the unbanked.
Yes,
When is the last time you heard that?
bro. Like I remember this used to be like the bankless tagline for like the longest time. I've not heard that in a really long time. Sometimes there's this article, actually, it's called, I think it's called the Wild West of Crypto or something. It's like one of the very OG articles of banking. I sometimes go back and I read that simply to feel like what those guys felt at that time when they were writing that article, that this is our journey, we are going together. The DAOs at that time, because I started off in bankless DAO, I really miss that period. A lot of people, like I helped a lot of people and a lot of people helped me with absolute zero expectation of reward, zero expectation of this ever coming back. And now sometimes I see like the people that I was guiding, or I was like starting off in like the middle, in the very beginning, they have now gone on to like find their own protocols, and like they've raised a lot of money and everything. And I'm like, wow, I remember like I helped this person set up their MetaMask back in the day. So it's a long like full circle movement. So how do you feel? Like I'm pretty sure it's like a very challenging moment for you, but like as a human being, you are in history right now, my friend. You're leading the charge in history right now, because what you're doing, it's not a safe bet at all. In fact, I would say it's probably the worst bet you can make. It's like for your financial well-being or for your mental well-being, because you're just like, fuck it, we ball, it's important, we drove a stake into the ground and we did it so we could tell our grandchildren that we did it.
But it's also, those times, because I've seen a pretty depressed moment of the market already in my, in my history, and it's literally where the legends are made, even in terms of protocols. Most of the major, they were born not in a bull market, but in the depths of the bear, because literally only the builders and believers are left. So yeah, in your segment, let's call it like that. It was a bit long, trying to not get lost. Uh, One thing that keeps coming back is this question of imagination, of ideals, of like dreaming, and I think this is really what has been lost, compared to the early days, is simply we've become sanitarized, corporatized, call it whatever you want. But you pitch an idea, and the first question is how you're gonna raise, and is this gonna make money? And yeah, fine, you want to build sustainable system, you need to have a sound economics. But the question is not asked in that sense. It's more like how it's gonna make me money than how it's gonna make money to be able to incentivize over the long term and create a self-sustaining structure that will still be here a decade from now. This is not the question asked. It's really just like, uh, can I get in this early and get out by the time where it went 10x, because you're telling some nice stories to people and it pumped nicely, and I don't really care if the thing blow up after I'm gone, as long as I manage to exit first. Uh, it's a really like predatory space in that regard, but at the same time, there is a big gap for projects of the ambition of Polaris, and we've seen it with the response to just announcing, because essentially we've been public yet with reveal the project, but we still don't have much to give to the people. But still, people I think realized that something was happening here, and they showed up. The support has been quite overwhelming, so it shows you that there is a demand for projects of this scale, this ambition, answering this question of trustless stablecoin. It's just, again, nobody is willing to try to tackle it. It's not even willing to tackle it. It's just freaking try. But nobody has really tried apart from the liquidity team over the past 5 years. It's a gone problem. They've seen MakerDAO fail at it, and then MakerDAO refuse to acknowledge its failure, transforming into this forever pigeon, to be polite. And and yeah, they kind of stop here. Oh, I don't know what's the thinking. Maybe, oh, if the maker guys can't do it, then probably we can. Well, I don't consider myself a genius, but I don't consider myself a retard neither. I think I have my odds, especially with the team that is at play here, because it's not just me. Even if I'm just here, me today, uh, it's a full team behind Polaris, and a lot of big brains in that team, very high quality developers that have already demonstrated the capacity to tackle such projects. So it's really just a matter of learning from the previous experiences and finding exactly what the problem was and solving it. It's not undoable. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's not undoable.
And what would you say, like towards the end, like Bryce, like if there is like a founder out there, he has the choice to build it the way he thinks is right in his head, which like kind of caters to the original cypherpunk manifesto when he read it when he first came into the industry, or caters to the ideals that he read about back in 2021, or maybe wants to read about. He wants to do it the right way, right? He's gone through the OG history. What would you say to him when everybody around him is like telling him, like, bro, this nobody's gonna buy this. You really need to say like how close you are to the financial institutions or stuff like that, because you've been around long enough to know this is the right path, but there are people out there who simply are not convinced that this is even feasible. Is there a message you
Show
would
them.
like to
Show them. If the dot is on feasibility, that's easy. You
give?
ship and they will see. A lot of people have doubts on the scalability of this, or they think it's going to be niche. Um, it's I guess it's a tougher question, but here I think we found a really credible answers. I think the problem is most people quit midway. There is this guy, maybe I will not name it here, but just those guys exist. This guy has been building immutable primitive for like 3 or 4 years now. He still hasn't found product market fit, but he is not stopping. If I could bet on this dude that one day we'll have a product of major scale, I would, because I just see that the dude will never stop until he reached something. Every year or two he tries a new idea, he tries to scale it, it doesn't work, he ideates again, try a new thing, but every time it's built in the cleanest way that he can do it. It's a small scale operation, and I'm confident one day we'll find his success. um, Essentially, especially now, I think it's getting somehow cheaper to ship protocols, because you can do a lot of things, not on the code itself. You still have to write it, and so on. But everything that is around that used to be big cost, like, oh, you need a website, and you need to do some marketing, you need to have pros to do this and that. Now your pros can simply be an army of code, and you put your human focus where you need it, where things need solve. But if the goal is to scrape the list of conference of that year to determine which one you're gonna go, this is not a task that requires human soul. You can give it to a bot. Your launch article, or I don't know, your documentation, probably don't give it to a bot, even if it's content. You need this to be accurate and to reflect your vision. But essentially, yeah, I think we're entering, and it's not obvious, but we're entering in a golden age to build those kind of bootstrap protocols that can have massive impact. You don't need to have several millions of dollars to ship something credible and audited to mainnet now. Uh, and I think, maybe hope, that more and more people will harness this.
My man, Rice, you've been an absolute legend to come on this space. Thank you so much for being here. I wish Polaris like the best of luck in anything that it does, whatever it does, simply if it carries that same zeal that you have right now and that the team has right now. And beautiful message for anyone who's building out at this point of time. Don't compromise your ideals, guys. If you genuinely believe something can be done a particular way, always remember Christian von Koenigsegg did not know if anybody will ever even be able to buy his car. Because he thought nobody's gonna buy like the fastest car or anything like that. He just built it first, and then he was like, okay, so there would be some human being out there, just one, who's willing to spend enough money that it covers the cost of my production. They're now a profitable company. So that's basically my takeaway. Bryce, thank you so much for coming here, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It was really nice, and it's cool to be talking about, philosophy, politics, whatever you want to call this, purpose of what we're doing here, instead of just the function or the technical, the growth, the go-to market, the marketing, and all this stuff. Those are important, but they're only tools for the end of what we're trying to do here.
100%, man. Thank you so much, Bryce. It was lovely having you, bro.